Greetings Mech Warriors, and welcome back to another MekHQ for campaign operations video. We are going to be looking a bit more in detail at vehicles and aerospace in this video, and then in the next video we're going to look at infantry. So we had a really successful first mission for the company, and our GM has decided that the Lyran Commonwealth are going to sell this new mercenary company some vehicles and aerospace assets. And we've got quite a bit of money because we did this little very successful objective raid, and our finances currently are sitting at 21 million C-bills. So plenty of money left to spend on our new materials that we're going to buy. So there are two ways in which you can go about buying things, because we've said that the GM has basically decided that the Lyran Commonwealth are going to supply this. We're not going to do the typical seeking out equipment, but I'll show you how to do that. If we go to Marketplace and we go to Purchase Unit, we can just go in here and then we could try and order a unit that we want to measure. So we're going to have put in a couple of Maxims. Got to love a Maxim. So Maxim hover tanks, and they're going to be for our combined arms because they carry 3 tons of troops. Now we could buy these at target number 3, or we could add them as a GM. We're just going to buy them. Okay. Add GM means you don't pay for them. We're going to ignore the target numbers now because we're going to say as part of the campaign they've been provided. But you would roll using the acquisition roll, the administrative skill roll of your best administrator, with a negative because they're vehicles and they're only medium vehicles, so that actually goes down to a 3. So I'm going to click on that. We can get 2 of these. 1, 2. We also want to add in a couple of scout tanks to go with them, so we can have basically a couple of Pegasus hover tanks as well. 1, 2. And just to round things out, we're going to have a couple of VTOLs. So we're going to go for pretty classic cavalry. Actually, let's go for the warrior. Nothing more classic than a warrior. There we go. So I'm going to go for a warrior 7. And we're going to buy a couple of those. 1, 2. Now at this point, if I click off this and go back to our procurement information, it says here that we're going to test to see whether they're available, and then they would be delivered. But we're saying these things are on planet, and we don't need to test for them. They're going to be instantly available. The other items here, we're still waiting for some head stuff to be able to repair that Stinger's head that we salvaged in the last mission. So we're going to go and click on the Maxim and the Pegasus here, and we're going to use GM mode and procure items immediately, and then go to the hangar, and we're going to use the GM mode to have them delivered immediately because they were on the planet. So this is why I say it's actually really important to realize that MekHQ does a lot of things for you, but you can just override it and consider these things to have happened. Now it says crippled at the moment because we don't have a crew, so don't worry about that. It's nothing going wrong. It will stay crippled until it has a crew. Now I'm going to go back, and also we're going to add an aerospace asset. So I'm going to go back to the command center, go to Marketplace, and we're going to go to Purchase Unit, and we want to click on this one, IS Total War, and we're going to click on aerospace to see what we've got. So, and again, you can agree with the GM exactly what things are available, because it might be the case that certain things are only available to the Lyran Commonwealth, but we're going to go for a pretty common. Let's go for a Sparrowhawk here, a couple of Sparrowhawks. So going to buy those 2, 1, 2, and again these have been provided by the Lion, so we're not going to wait for them or test them to be delivered. We're just going to say the GM mode, procure items immediately, and we're going to go up to the hangar, and they appear in the hangar as well along with the mechs, and we are going to click on those and go to GM mode, unit arrives immediately. There we go. So we've got 4 new vehicles and 2 aerospace assets here which need to have crews, and there are 2 ways to do this. One way is to simply go into the marketplace and go to hire. Okay, the other way is to do a really easy cheat, which is to GM mode, add minimum complement. And add minimum complement, you can just select multiple things. I can select all of these, and I can just go GM mode, add minimum complement, and basically it will roll randomly and allow those things to be brought up to a full crew. So I'm just going to do that very, very quick way of doing it, rather than going in and hiring them. So I've now added in a whole bunch of extra people. I can go to the personnel section, and what's quite useful, just so we can see who's who, we can filter the personnel by vehicle crew, and there we can see we've got each Maxim, I expand that, has got a crew of 3 gunners and 1 pilot. So I can actually click on unit assignment there and sort it by unit. So we've got driver and 3 gunners. That's determined by the tonnage of the vehicle, so some vehicles don't need so many. We've got the other Maxim, and we've got the 2 Pegasus. The Pegasus only need 2 gunners rather than 3. The gunnery skill of the unit depends on the average of all 3 gunners. So if you go and click on the gunners and have a look at GM mode, edit, you can see this gunner has got a gunnery skill of 4+. You can actually see all of the skills in a bit more detail if you go to view and by skill. So if I go to pilot gunnery skill here, I can actually see the individual skills here, and it splits them all up quite a lot. So you've got mech skill. So weirdly enough, this driver used to be a mech pilot. He's actually got piloting mech, but no gunnery. The vehicle here, the first one is is gunnery. The second, no, this is the first one. Let's just have a look. The first one is gunnery. The second one is piloting. So it's gunnery, piloting, and you can see that there's all the skills there. So some of them don't have piloting. So these gunners have only got gunnery. They don't have piloting. VTOL is a separate skill. So if you've got basically VTOL pilots, they come under a separate skill. And if we want to look at the VTOL pilots, we have to look under a different tab. Can't remember where it is. So let's go back to the hangar. So we've got 2 Pegasuses, 2. Oh, I don't think we added the. Let's go back to the command center. I don't think we added the 2 warriors. Here they are. So GM mode, cure items, hangar, our 2 warriors, GM mode, unit arrives immediately. And we want to bring those up to the minimum complement. Now these are only 21 tons technically. We go to GM mode, add minimum complement. And there we've added our minimum complement there. And if you go into personnel and we just look at vehicle crews, we can see we've got our vehicle pilots here. And if I go to general and sort by unit, you can see these warriors have 1 pilot, 1 gunner. So they have their VTOL pilot, VTOL gunner, and we can see that there. And you can see the details of them. So not particularly good pilots here because it was rolled randomly. Obviously they're been given to us for a reason. Obviously, they weren't good enough to be in the Lyran Alliance. They're dropouts. But we have got this wonderfully great elite gunner here. One of the fun things about rolling things randomly on using this system is you do get some up and down skills. So let's have a look at the 2 Sparrowhawks here. So we've got our 2 Sparrowhawk pilots here. We've got one. I'll go to personnel and go to aerospace pilots. We've got 2 pilots here, and because it's going to be a new formation, I'm going to go to GM mode, and not GM mode. I'm going to go to change rank, and I'm going to make this person a lieutenant senior grade because they are the head of the aerospace lance. And then we're going to go to the vehicle crews. So let's go to vehicle crews and let's pick someone who's really good on this and decide to make them a commander. So let's say this person here is going to be the captain, or is going to be lieutenant of the vehicle lances. So rank, let's set that person to lieutenant senior grade. So I'm going to create a couple of new formations to put these into, and we're going to do add new force, and we're going to have, I'm just going to call it the vehicle lance, and we're going to have add a new unit, add a new force, and we're going to have aerospace lance, and we're going to add the 2 aerospace fighters to our aerospace lance. I'm going to add our 4 vehicles. Some rapid response. And we're going to have a recon lance for the VTOLs. So you're going to add another one. Add do force. And we're going to add our vehicles here. So now we can just put in some symbols for these. So I'm going to change the force icon. So vehicle lance on the NATO thing, we want basically Stratops here. What do we want? Let's have a look. Vehicle hover. There we go. So vehicle hover. And aerospace. Going to change the force icon. And we've got graphical is quite useful. We've got aerospace light and V2L. There we go. So now we've added in the extra units into our TO&E. Now what we need to do is give them some technical personnel. So you can't do this in the same way of just bringing up to minimum strength like we did with the others. What we need to do is we just need to look at what vehicles we've got, and we need to add in those extra technicians. So we're going to add 1 technician for each vehicle. And what's slightly different in this compared to campaign operations is in campaign operations you are supposed to have a set number of vehicle techs per vehicle. It's not just 1 per vehicle. It's actually several. And so you'd have to look that up and see how many, and it actually works it out as per tonnage of how many techs you need. For the moment, I'm just going to show you hiring 1 for each, and we're going to mass hire them. Now these are different technicians to MekHQ, so I'm going to go to bulk hire, and I'm going to go to they're called mechanics on this. There we go, mechanics, and we're going to have 6 of those. So mechanics are also for the helicopters. So I'm going to hire those, and then now we've done that, we're going to bulk hire 2 aerospace technicians. There we go. So we've bulk hired all of those extra technicians, and now I can actually go in and I can assign them in here. I can go to assign personnel, technician, and again this is just for the sake of monthly maintenance. You know, usually you have like 1 technician assigned per unit, and we're going to do the VTO ones. For our mechanics, oh, we got some very good mechanics here. We've got a load of veterans. You can actually assign the same person twice. The reason is because each maintenance cycle requires a certain amount of time, and because each one has a certain amount of time, a person could basically be added several times to reach their maximum time allocation for that maintenance cycle. And there we go. So that's our last person. You can see the number of minutes they've got allocated to maintenance per week here. So here you can see the net amount of time, and that time would take off their allowance for how much time they can spend doing repairs. So we're up to date. We have now added our 2 helicopters, our 4 vehicles, and our 2 aerospace fighters. The only one issue of this now is we do have not enough admin people. So if I go to reports and unit rating, if I look at admin, we need 7 admin needed. It says there are 7 available. So maybe we do have enough admin people. And the other thing is that we actually no longer are able to carry all of our vehicles. So that's an issue, that, you know, for us to deploy all of our vehicles, we don't have enough yet. And it hasn't come up here. Oh, 6 needed. There you go. We need 6 light vehicle bays. We don't have them. That's going to impact on our unit reputation. So our unit reputation will suffer because we can't lift all of our units. We also need to bring up the number of Aztecs we have, because each one of those teams is going to need Aztecs. So I'm just going to go to File and go to Marketplace and Aztec pool, and bring all Aztecs to bring all tech teams to full strength. So now we've got the extra teams there for doing that, and I think that's more or less it. So overall, we've just added in some vehicles, and we can see that in the hangar here. And we can load them. Sorry, that's another thing. We can load our aerospace lance. Go to add. Assign force to transport ship. Here we go. But for instance, our vehicle lance, we've got no space available to do that. So we've got no space where we can actually put the vehicle lance, and we've got no space where we can put the VTOLs. So we'd need to ship those separately, and that would cost us extra money from the funding point of view. So that's that video. Next video we'll look at infantry, which are a little bit more complicated, but that's how we add vehicles and aerospace, and how we select the crews and the technicians for those.